Hi everyone. Today the title of the book is The Fairy Garden. Mimi was a perfectly ordinary girl who lived a perfectly ordinary life. She had toys to play with, a little brother who wasn't too annoying, and cakes on her birthdays. Mimi didn't want many things, but there was one thing she wanted so very much indeed, to see a fairy in her garden. Mimi knew that fairies are good, kind, and wise. She was sure they would only want to live in the very best garden. So every morning she worked hard to make her garden perfect. Anything less than perfect had to go. Every weed was pulled. Caterpillars, leaving lacy holes in leaves, were picked off and flicked away. Plants were sprayed to keep the bugs at bay. And every night, Mimi watched and waited at the window. But each night she grew sleepier as the hour passed, until she awoke in the morning, having seen precisely no fairies at all. Mimi worked even harder. The flowers were staked, the leaves were raked, the tree were trimmed, the hedge was clipped, the grass was nipped, and sprinkles a few more puffs of bark sprayed onto the blooms for good measure. And all around the garden she placed little fairy houses so that the fairies would have a place to call home. There could be no garden more perfect in the whole wide world, she thought. But still the fairies didn't come. Didn't they like her fairy houses? Was the garden just not pretty enough? She was trying so hard to make the garden perfect. Was she doing something wrong? One morning, Mimi looked around. There was no mess left, no nibbled leaves or fallen petals, and not a caterpillar to be seen. There was nothing left to try except some final touches. A little fairy footpath of shining stones, and a daintily painted welcome sign to make them feel at home. Later, as the moonlight cast shadows over the usual empty garden, Mimi couldn't help crying a single tear. But then, all of a sudden, a group of twinkling lights appeared. It was the fairies. They came closer and closer, fluttering and glowing in silvery balls of light. Mimi had been right. The fairies were good and kind, and they couldn't bear to see her upset. Mimi, said the fairy, don't cry. Thank you for the beautiful houses and footpath and welcome sign you have made for us. You are you are welcome. Mimi replied. I wanted to make the garden perfect for you so that you would want to live here. The first fairy smiled sadly. Mimi, we were here all along, but when you rake up all the leaves, you rake away our cozy nest. And when you pull the weeds and use the bug spray, it makes our pet caterpillars sick. Your garden is perfect for people, but not for fairies. If you want us to return, we need our wild fairy garden back. Mimi thought back to the caterpillars she had flicked away and the leaves she had raked and felt awful. I'm so sorry, she cried. That's okay, Mimi, said the first fairy. We know you meant well. Not many people know what makes a real fairy garden, but now you do. Will you help us? After that, Mimi looked after her garden very differently. She would got up every morning to check that it was perfect. But now perfect looked like something else entirely. Sometimes Mimi saw the fairies, and sometimes she didn't. But she always knew that they were there in her fairy garden. How to grow a fairy-friendly garden? Fairies, just like other wild creatures, need food, shelter, and water. Fairies love to drink sweet nectar, and their pet caterpillars need greenery to nibble on. Grow plenty of nectar-rich flowers in your garden to provide them with the food they need. If you don't have a garden, why not grow some flowers in a window box? Chemicals that humans use to keep their gardens looking neat, such as pesticides and herbicides, can make fairies very sick. It's best to avoid using these if you want to encourage a healthy fairy population. Fairies are shy and they feel safe when there is plenty of long grass to hide in. They also like to nest in fallen leaves and piles of sticks. Why not leave some areas of your garden unmown or keep some piles of twigs and leaves for them to hide in? Who doesn't enjoy a swim? If you have space, you could create a little pond for fairies to bathe in. During the day, you might spot birds using it too. Make sure the pond has a shallow end, or place a little ramp into the water so it's easy for the fairies to climb in and out. How to make a special fairy house. If you want to make the fairies feel extra welcome, make them a pretty fairy house from an upside down plant pot. You could even make a selection of fairy houses in different sizes and designs. You will need paper and pencils, a terracotta plant pot, matching terracotta saucers, strong glue, acetic paints and paint brushes, permanent markers, optional natural materials such as peppers, bark, etc. Step 1. First decide how you like your fairy house to look Would you like it to be brightly painted in cheerful colors? Or would you prefer a natural looking fairy house covered with forage materials? Draw your favorite design as a guide to work from. Step 2. Paint the base color of your fairy house and allow the paint to dry. Once the base color is fully dry, paint on decorative details such as the windows and doors. You can use permanent markers for these if you prefer. It's easiest to paint the roof, the saucer, and the house, the pot separately. Step 3. Once all the paint is dry, glue the roof onto the house. If you are decorating your house with forage materials, glue those to the surface of your pot at this stage too. Let the glue dry. Check the instructions on your adhesive to see how long this will take. Finally, step 4. Find a shelter spot in your garden or on a balcony to place your finished fairy house where fairies are sure to find it. Thank you for subscribing.